Okay, so I think we can kick off now, and obviously as people join in, they'd be more than welcome. Just want to say again, great to see everyone. Happy New Year, happy 2023, and wishing you all great success for the year ahead. This is our 7th webinar in the series. So we kicked off these webinars in September, October, and it's part of our program for development of digital schools in Europe. And we have been blessed to have some amazing schools presenting on each of the specific areas within the SELFIE tool. So for all of the schools on the call who have done SELFIE or who are looking at SELFIE, hopefully these webinars have just given you a small snapshot of the types of things that are happening in some of the mentor schools that have already undertaken SELFIE and already been awarded digital school status. So today we're looking at, I think, one of the toughest topics and one of the toughest areas for schools, which is in around assessment. And we are very privileged to have two wonderful schools from Limerick in Ireland and from Lithuania, from one of the oldest towns in Lithuania, a beautiful school we were just getting introduced earlier. So I am just going to pass over, first of all, to Joe Short from Castletroy College in Limerick, and he's going to share with us the types of things that have been happening and that he has been implementing in his school in around the area of assessment. And then I am going to pass over to 4 wonderful ladies from the school in Lithuania that I find very difficult to pronounce, but I just want to say a warm welcome to Audra, Jurgita, Gintara and Ingrida. And we're really looking forward to hearing what they're doing in and around assessment. So I will hand over to you, Joe, if you're happy to share your screen. We'll kick off. It's a 30-minute session. And at the end, if you have any questions, please do put them in the chat. Or if you want to ask questions during the presentation, we can get around to those at the end or answer any questions you have as the presentations are happening. So over to you, Joe.
Okay, hi. Evening, everybody. Joe Short, Digital Learning Coordinator in Castletroy College in Limerick, Ireland. Very happy to participate tonight. We found the Digital Schools Award application process and the SELFIE for schools and SELFIE for teachers to be wonderful tools, a big help to us in developing digital learning in our schools. So happy to share our experience, and hopefully something useful will be in this for people joining us tonight. So can you see my screen?
Yep, we can, thanks.
Okay, so our school, just to give you the context, about 1,200 students approximately, 90 plus teachers. We've been using Google Workspace, so we're a Google school for 10 years or more. So we have a lot of experience. We have 6 Chromebook trolleys deployed in the school. There's 2 ICT rooms that the teachers can work in also with groups. We have a teacher's PC with the display in every classroom, and we have clusters of Chromebooks, PCs and iPads in various locations in the school. All teachers were issued with a Chromebook last academic year, and so we would be reasonably comfortable with Google Workspace. So, but it's not a one-to-one environment. That's just so you understand the context before I share. So, what's our journey with assessment? Basically, Google Classroom. Well, we've 10 years or more experience with Google Workspace, but Google Classroom was a game changer to me in 2014. We were starting early on with basic skills. But once Classroom came in, you can see from our learning journey here with a focus on assessment. And we started with creating Google Class, adding resources, setting an assignment and grading the assignment. Then we moved on to important skills like commenting on documents. So that enabled teachers to do formative assessment, to give students feedback on how they might improve their work, and then allow them to resubmit, or there wasn't so much an emphasis on that at the time, but certainly comments on their work, so students knew where they might improve their work, how they might do things differently. As we progressed, you can see in 2018, we went back and revisited these areas because skills are developed over time, And basically, we were building staff capacity over time. And that's what it's all about. Now, how did we do that? Well, we have a digital learning mentor team. You can see it there in the bottom right. Basically, that's teachers who are comfortable, happy to train other teachers. So it's peer-to-peer learning among staff working together as a community of practice. As you can imagine, that started off as a small group because a number of teachers initially, only a small number, felt confident enough to lead their colleagues in training sessions, which we would typically have once a year during large staff meetings. We would refer to them as Croke Park hours, and that might be 1 to 2 hours of training. So the group was small initially, but over time we built capacity and confidence, and eventually when we got to the point of school closures during COVID, there was one digital learning mentor in each department, and they were able to share the knowledge that they developed collaboratively as a team with others in their department, and that way confidence and staff capacity grew and spread amongst the whole staff body. So we moved on to assessment in 2018 in more depth. 2019, again, managing assignments in more detail. So revisiting the same area, setting assignments, sharing learning intentions, sharing success criteria, and then assessment in Google Classroom. And by the time we get to 2020, teachers are looking at managing their gradebook in Google Classroom. Now, if you're not familiar with Google Classroom, you're using other platforms. Essentially, we were able to get, over time, more adept, more confident in using our learning platform for setting assignments and for grading them. And finally, in 2020, at this point, we have Chromebooks deployed, and we're looking to do more active learning in the classroom. So attention shift away from the learning platform alone and move to tools like Padlet and Mentimeter. And this allowed teachers to do things like polls and quizzes in class to check students' understanding at the beginning of the class before doing a module of work, maybe to check their understanding at the end of the class. So that was more about active learning in the classroom, using Chromebooks in the classroom, and embedding assessment using digital tools in the classroom. So you can see we moved from just the learning platform, Google Workspace, to a variety of tools. Here you can see a whole variety of them. They'll be familiar to people. And so laterally we became more focused on these tools to some extent. Meanwhile, there are other tools, such as those on the right, which you might describe as learning platforms, Google Applied Digital Skills, Khan Academy, and other platforms that teachers use, which include assessment activities in them which are auto-corrected and students get immediate feedback. So that's a different kind of assessment that became more common as we moved on and became more confident, generally speaking, with online learning, which was a result of school closures and teaching and learning online. Google Forms still remained a very important tool and was used by teachers for delivering online examinations. Now, how do we manage all this? How do we manage training? Well, basically, we have in recent years introduced, we've promoted SELFIE for teachers, but also we provide, aside from the peer-to-peer training in school, we provide training online, which is linked from our digital hub, which is basically a Google site. We have one for students and one for staff. The staff one is closed. Only teachers can access it when they're logged in to their school account. And there we give them access to or link to things like Google Workspace Skills, a piece of software for training, level 1 fundamentals training from Google. And we promote staff to develop their own their personal and professional digital competence. So not just rely on training from colleagues, but also to, if you like, take charge of their own learning and to learn to seek out self-paced certification online and to take charge of their own learning effectively and work independently at their own pace. And we promote them aspiring towards the Google Educator Level 1 certification. But you can see on the Staff Digital Hub that we've linked to specific training for things like providing feedback in Google Classroom and with other tools, things like formative assessment. And we also share good practice on the Staff Digital Hub so teachers can see what others are doing in their classroom. Ultimately, we have basically developed our areas of focus though in developing our approach to assessment based on our annual digital learning plan, which is informed by SELFIE tool. And this year we've got a new focus, and it's informed by the results of SELFIE. You can see overall we had good results, but there were two low scores, if you like, comparatively speaking. One was assessment practices and one was collaborating and networking. When we looked at it in more detail, we had made some improvements on the previous year, but we were interested to focus on assessment practices because we already had in place a digital portfolio solution for students. But from surveys of that and from focus groups with students, we knew that this could be developed further. And areas in the assessment practices such as assessing skills, timely feedback, self-reflection on learning, documenting learning, these pointed towards digital portfolio, but also towards maybe needing to look at how we do assessment, perhaps again, and see if we can do something differently. And through focus groups with students had a simple message for us. They wanted more comments that tell them how to improve their work. So we didn't rely just on the SELFIE data, we also had focus groups. We spoke to students and we listened to their feedback. They wanted basically formative assessment. So looking at our SELFIE data, looking back at our use of digital portfolio, looking at a need for formative assessment, we looked outside the school to see what supports were there from the PDST, which is a professional development service for teachers in Ireland. And they offer various training programs, and they have one running which is called formative assessment using digital portfolios. So it aligned exactly with the areas of focus for this year for us. And so we signed up. And this helped us because it gave us new ideas for new approaches and maybe a new strategy. We had been relying on a digital mentor approach, so this gave us a different idea for a different approach. And this is basically, I'll show what that is, but basically the focus for all teachers then was very simply sharing learning intentions and success criteria and assignments, commenting on documents to support formative assessment, private comments in classroom to support formative assessment, feedback using the comment bank feature to support formative assessment, the use and design of rubrics to support formative assessment, and to talk and comment to support oral feedback and formative assessment. So the focus is on formative assessment. And key to all this, we wanted to offer students the opportunity to look at the comments from their teachers, the feedback, reflect on them, and redraft or redo, then resubmit their assignment for final assessment. So that's the formative feedback cycle, if you like. And this is what we're asking all staff to do. And that's our focus for this year. And that came out of the SELFIE data, and it came out of the focus groups, basically discussions with students and listening to them. Now, we already had a digital portfolio in place. So really what we were focusing on as teachers, as a staff and as students was not just the technology, but the methodology. And we wanted to try and get it right and to improve it. We were doing well in transition year with digital portfolio and assessment and feedback, but we wanted to see if we could feed it out to junior cycle in particular. So how did it work? Well, we took a different strategy. Rather than relying on the mentors, training staff, we have a group now established which is led by a digital learning coordinator and one other teacher. We have one student group that we're focusing on. And basically that's one class in second year. So it's not an exam year. And also at this point, they're familiar with Google tools. So we're focusing on that group. So we just chose one class alone. And then we selected, we approached the teachers of the core subjects of that class. And we asked them to basically do digital portfolio practices with an emphasis on formative assessment consistently with this group throughout the year. And then that group of teachers would provide feedback to colleagues at staff meetings and basically share with them their journey in formative assessment, where there's an emphasis on students submitting assignments, teachers giving feedback, and then students redrafting or redoing and resubmitting for assessment. And the idea is that as we share this with colleagues, they might come on the journey with us, and then next year we will invite all colleagues across the school to adopt the same approach. So how do we share good practice? How do we bring everybody together on the journey? First, presentations at staff meetings. We've had one so far this year. There should be another one later in the year. So you can see in the top left here, there was a slideshow presented to staff by 2 teachers, one maths teacher, one science teacher. And they basically described their experience of formative assessment in the digital portfolio context. We also shared these slideshows on the staff digital hub, and we share meetings of our team meetings, minutes of our team meeting, where we basically explain what we have learned throughout the process. So that's shared on the staff digital hub. And ultimately, each teacher then in this group can share their experience with their colleagues in their department and hopefully bring those teachers along the journey with them. And on the right hand side, you can see we also linked on the staff digital hub to online training. So again, this is offered by the PDST, our Professional Development Service for Teachers. These are online courses that students can sign up to and train online in digital portfolio practices and formative assessment. Here's an example of a slide that one of the maths teachers shared in the presentation to staff in November. Basically, you can see that there are comments that the teacher made to help the student to understand how to improve the work. So this is the teacher sharing her approach to formative assessment in Google Classroom. And the teacher also shared what she might do differently next time so that colleagues would understand it's a learning process. And she was looking at her experience, and she said next time she would comment on the slides themselves instead of on the assignment task. So if you're familiar with Google Classroom, you can do private comments or you can do comments directly on the student's document. So she's going to, in future, comment directly on the student's document. She's going to set review of feedback and updates as homework and ask for volunteers to showcase their work after updates. So she's sharing her learning journey with staff. So that's where we are at the moment with formative assessment and digital portfolio. We also have other new tools in Google Classroom, new assignment types. These are called practice sets and add-ons, and they have an assessment aspect to them. And for this, we're going to seek training from a Google partner. We have a reseller for our licenses, and it's a Google partner, C Learning in the UK, they're based. And basically they offer training for us also. So we're going to avail of the training that they're offering. That would be scheduled later on in the year. That would be effectively a webinar for staff, and teachers will go into their department groups. Each department will go into a classroom. They'll simply bring up the webinar on the display in that classroom. They will have their Chromebooks out and they will follow the training from this group C Learning. And then after the training has been delivered, this will be approximately 1 hour long in practice sets and add-ons. They can then discuss amongst themselves how they might use this in their subject area. And that's those particular tools, they're new in Google Classroom. And like I say, they have an assessment aspect to them. So basically, in conclusion, that's a very quick walk through our journey with assessment in digital learning. But ultimately, what you can see is we have a digital learning planning process. So that informs our area of focus for digital learning development. And that's how we arrived at our new focus in assessment this year. We use peer-to-peer learning, digital learning mentor team in school, for staff to support one another and train one another in these skills. We also reach out to professional development services in Ireland for training, and there's an advisor there who's coming into our school actually next month as part of this program, and he will lead the core group in formative assessment in digital portfolio in another session of training. So we get training from the professional development services. We network, we're part of the Google Education Ireland group, so we will learn from there. And also we use our Google partner that we work with for training also. So I suppose that's just showing the different ways that we can find support in our journey with digital learning development, and this particular case this year with a focus on assessment. So I hope that was of some use, and perhaps something might have been of help to somebody there, might get ideas for how they might develop assessment practices in their school. So I'll pass back now.
Thank you so much, Joe. I think, you know, there's a couple of things. First of all, you make it sound so easy, and yet the detail and how thorough you have sort of looked at this whole area of assessment is really evident I know we only have that sort of short 15 minutes, and I think you could probably fill an entire week in terms of the how you've approached it. You know, I love the fact that you have such specific and actionable ideas and priorities to implement in terms of, you know, what you're doing in terms of assessment, and you're taking a whole school approach. So I personally, I thought that was really excellent. I would love to see more. I think it's certainly something we might come back to you on in terms of, you know, trying to maybe get you to present in more detail, because I think it would be very interesting to get more of the information around all of the different aspects of what you're doing. And obviously, I think, you know, thank you so much for sharing your SELFIE data. It is very interesting, as I said at the beginning, assessment is a challenging area, and the fact that you've sort of bit the bullet and that you're working on it. So we really look forward to seeing how your results pan out, maybe in the next SELFIE survey. Hopefully you'll see lots of good responses from the pupils and the teachers, but thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
I'll now hand over to our school in Lithuania. And Audra, if you'd like to introduce, please introduce your school, and we'll run into your presentation. Thank you so much.
Good evening. We appreciate you sacrificing your valuable time for our presentation. Thank you for being here. We are going to give a short presentation about self-assessment and evaluation experience. We are from Lithuania. Our school is Raseinių district Viduklės Simono Stanevičiaus gymnasium. There is nothing unusual that we use a lot of technologies in the classroom and at home while studying, teaching, and learning process. Each teacher has possibility to teach children who are at home. Each classroom has necessary equipment for distance learning, and students can participate in a lesson without any issues. We use a game-based learning platform, Kahoot, that brings engagement. We do tasks, quizzes, and get the results. Another free online website which is used by our teachers is Purpose Game. The teacher and the students can see the results, which answers are correct, which are wrong. Students can correct their mistakes working individually. Edpuzzle is a platform to place interactive content. The teacher can use different videos and interactive tasks in his lessons. Crossword Labs is a crossword puzzle maker. It's the simplest and fastest way to build, print, share, and solve crossword puzzle online. It's a fun way to teach children. Students can learn different subjects like geography, history, maths, science, languages using StudyStack. This online website can be used to learn individually or in groups. Mentimeter is used for a real-time voting. It is convenient to ask about feelings, opinion. It is useful if the teacher wants to find out how the students understood the subject. E-test is a system where the teacher can create his own tests. There are many options how it can be done. Teacher can form closed-ended questions, type a sentence or a short text with missing words, add a short video with some questions. Students can select from a limited number of options. The teacher doesn't need to check the tests. It is done automatically, and both sides, the teacher and students, can see the results. This program is used just in our country. EMA is a website used just in Lithuania. This platform allows us to teach students according to individual needs. EMA contains digital content. The teacher, parents, and students can see the results, see mistakes, can analyze, and correct them. Educa is also used just in Lithuania. Its up-to-date website can be used in a classroom or in a distant learning. It is used to observe students' improvement.
Examinatorius. The result of the analysis shows the number of tasks and their difficulty. Also provides the information what was the percentage of the students who made the task correctly. Eduton is a digital math learning platform that combines Finnish educational excellence with gamification. Fast, up-to-the-minute feedback with analysis of each student's learning is provided. Live worksheets. This app checks students' answers automatically. As a result, it is easier to observe the improvement. Learning apps. It helps to strengthen students' knowledge and check the answers at the current time. HP5. This app helps students to learn by watching videos that consist of interactive elements. Students analyze the material since they make it correctly. Padlet, the app that is created to cooperate students with each other and provides the function of evaluation in synchronic way. Flinger. This internet tool helps students to create the environment for communication and various types of evaluation. The students formulate the answers themselves. Calameo, the platform of digital magazines, interactive publishing catalogs. Flipgrid, discussion forum platform with teacher and student constructed videos. Teachers and students can communicate and video discussions are created. Class.show. This is an interactive, modern, attractive platform not only for the learning, but also to observe and analyze the improvement of studying. Also, in this online classroom management app, teachers can record and track students' behavior, classroom activities, and engage in school-to-home communication. What is more, students record and analyze self-improvement in the files of a platform Office 365. Reflectus. This platform consists of digitized reflection methods, real-time feedback, summary statistics, reflection questionnaire templates. Students and teachers can track the learning progress and discover the best ways to plan the lesson. The easiest way to evaluate the project work is by using Poll Everywhere or Google Form tools.
To sum everything up, we can say that living in the world full of possibilities to use digital material, we have just one task: to sort out what could be the best for our students and start using. Thank you for listening.
Very, very good. Yes, exactly, Salomia. Thank you so much. I mean, that was an excellent presentation, and I have to say, so many really, really good practical tips for other schools. You know, you've covered what was very interesting as well is that you have covered lots of the different subjects within the school, and each of those subjects you have sort of embedded some form of sort of digital assessment, which I'm assuming then can all be sort of brought together to give a sort of a holistic view of how the student is performing. That was really, really interesting. I also think what could be interesting as well is that the way in which, you know, assessments done, whether it's with gamification or with visuals or videos embedded, somehow it doesn't feel perhaps the same to the student as a formal assessment. And so from student digital well-being, I wonder, does the student feel more relaxed because it doesn't feel like an exam, and the implications of that over a longer period, particularly with, you know, younger children who would find it maybe more challenging when faced with formal assessment. So I think there's lots of really interesting possibilities, you know, and I'm sure there's lots of the participants will really have benefited from all of the wonderful examples that you've shared. So really just want to say thank you so much, Audra, Jurgita, Gintari and Ingrida for that fabulous presentation. All of the presentations will be available online, and I don't know if we have any questions for any of the presenters here. I don't think so at the moment. So if there's an, oh yes, Salomia.
Sorry, I promise I don't make a question, girls. So like I said, I continue, but I just want to say I'm really proud that this school is in Lithuanian, and this is a great example how the people managing. And also I want to add for everyone who is listening, because in this presentation I felt as in assessment, I felt leadership, community, also how you communicate, collaboration. I feel all topics that was hearing before in this field, and also assessment. I just want to say that don't focusing only on the assessment. I want to wish everyone that you're focusing that in all aspects, in all topics, and this presentation was showing this, how they manage, because without the teamwork, I don't think that this kind of type of creativity, it will be not available in this case, because they was a little bit afraid in English, and wow, it's wonderful how you found the solution and you win, you just win. Thank you very much.
Yeah. No, very well said. A really, really great team effort. I think if we do get the opportunity to visit Lithuania, I hope we will be able to visit this school. Really superb. So I'll close the call. Joe, thank you so much. To everyone that participated, I hope you found today's webinar helpful, and we will be sharing it. And please follow us on Twitter for all of the updates. And next week we will be hosting a webinar on student digital competence. So hopefully, if you're available, you'll be able to join us then. So enjoy the rest of your evening, and thanks again for your time today. And we hopefully will see you next week. Thanks very much.